Right then, okay, we are going to get started. So I hope everyone can see the screen I'm sharing. Baraj, you're obviously my test. I'm assuming you can see the screen that I'm sharing here.
Yes, I just want to check, Marianne, can you hear me?
I can, yes. Can you hear me?
Okay,
Obviously.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Always good to get the testing out of the way. So good stuff. Right then, again, welcome everyone who has joined us today for our webinar, Ask the Experts, Working with Envision Education. Of course, if you are joining us today, you have submitted questions to us, which is the purpose of our webinar. Myself and Baraj. Baraj is our director and founder of Envision Education. Hello, Baraj.
Hello.
Excellent. Myself being the head of candidate resourcing and marketing here at Envision Education, we are here to answer the questions that you submitted. So we will be running through a series of questions that have been submitted. We will ask you to note down any questions that you may have along the way. We may answer them along the way, which is why we're asking you to note them down, because at the end we plan to have a Q&A session where you might want to ask questions on top of what we've already answered. So as well as that, we will also be asking for some feedback from you at the end of the session as well, and a few more things to talk about. But we are going to kick off the first question of our webinar today. So Baraj, we ready to go?
Yes.
Perfect, excellent. So firstly, right, I'm going to ask Baraj this one. I'm going to pose this one to Baraj. How do I become a teaching assistant? Went straight into the next one. Sorry, this is one that I'm going to be answering. Apologies there, guys. So how do I become a teaching assistant? So there isn't just one route into becoming a teaching assistant. Many people start with gaining they do begin without actually necessarily school-based experience working with children. So this could be in school, but it could be in nursery, could be in childcare, volunteering, or youth work. Is really, really valuable experience for beginning a career in education as a teaching assistant. The most important thing that schools are really looking for is going to be the right attitude. So knowing that you will be reliable, patient, and have a genuine interest in supporting children. So obviously, if you've done this type of work before, that's already something that we, as a candidate moving into working in a classroom-based role that you already have, it's really demonstrating that genuine interest for working with children. So any experience of working with children is valuable. And again, there are many different routes with the experience that you might have that you could go to then work in a classroom as a teaching assistant. So in terms of qualifications, you definitely don't need a qualification to start, especially for entry-level roles, which we support candidates really, really well with. Having a level 2 or 3 teaching assistant qualification can definitely help. And we do have schools that we work with specifically ask for these qualifications. So whilst you don't need any form of qualification, if you are looking to make the leap into the classroom, looking at a level 2 or a level 3 teaching assistant qualification can be really, really useful. So the typical next step is to apply directly to schools, but actually then to register with an education recruitment agency who can help match you to suitable roles and schools. So before starting work in a school, you will need to complete various checks, so safeguarding checks, DBS, references, right to work. So this is something that an agency absolutely can support you with. But what we can do, and an education agency can do, is talk to you about schools in a lot of detail. For example, with us, we know our schools very well. We understand the requirements that the schools might have. We understand the role of a teaching assistant in a particular school that we might introduce you to. And that's what we do all day, every day. So registering with an agency where they can really give you that advice and that guidance and support you through all the checks that you need to do is definitely a great place to start. So, okay.
I would say, I would also just mention a couple of points on that as well, Marianne. So the first thing I would say is, having met many school leaders in my time, I have met so many school leaders who say experience isn't always the first thing that they look for. And don't get me wrong, especially for specialist roles, that is definitely important. But when they're looking for teaching assistants particularly, they tend to gravitate towards candidates who have got perhaps extracurricular kind of experience doing other things, not necessarily working in a school. They might have a background in music, they might have a background in drama, they might have different types of experience outside of a school environment that really attract school leaders to want to employ them. So that's something that I have really noticed, particularly recently when meeting with school leaders, that they really like candidates with a great attitude who are willing to, you know, just get stuck in and support children. So that's one thing. And the other one I would say is just on the joining an agency or applying directly with schools. I guess the main benefit to you joining an agency is that the agency can get your CV and profile out to many schools that have roles there, and they have relationships with those schools where they're able to then spec you to that school and say, I think this candidate particularly would be a great fit for these reasons. So definitely there's benefits to joining an agency.
Absolutely.
But also, you know, when you're applying directly, there's benefit to that as well.
Absolutely. And actually, I think, well, anyone who knows me here knows that I like to talk about an example with my partner with this. And actually, he's been a guest on a webinar that you've done with him, actually. And he started without having direct experience in the classroom at all, but again, was a music specialist. And he went through an agency to secure the role that he is now in. And he wouldn't have been able to actually secure that role if it wasn't for going through an agency and getting that support that, you know, that he would need to be able to be introduced to schools. So absolutely, yeah, need to, you know, get the benefit of the agency, because they are, you know, best placed to be able to make those introductions. So thank you, Balraj. So right, on to the next here. This is definitely a question for Balraj this time. So Balraj, we've got what do schools expect from you on your first day?
I would say certainly it would definitely be schools understanding that your first day is potentially going to be quite daunting. I think the first thing I would say is arrive on time, you know, be prepared, dress appropriately as well. Sometimes that's overlooked because you know, you want to set a good first impression wherever you go on your first day of work. So I would certainly say, you know, dressing in good attire, but obviously you want to be comfortable because you're working with children, especially when you're working with the much younger ones as well. 100% arrive on time. I always say to the candidates we work with, you know, arrive 10 minutes before you're supposed to start, you know, because that always sets a good impression as well. Particularly if you want to secure a long-term position, and that's potentially a school you want to be in long-term, and you know, so definitely doing that. You know, being prepared, and what does being prepared look like? That means you know, doing some research on the school, looking at their website. You know, if you really want to go further to that, perhaps doing some research on their latest Ofsted report. That will give you an understanding of, you know, what kind of, where their kind of strong points are, where their potential weak points are, so you can really support them adequately. And I think also is really just taking instruction as well, taking instruction well. Sometimes when we get feedback from schools, the main words, the buzz kind of words they use are proactiveness, you know, so they always want candidates who are proactive. And what does that mean? That means realizing seeing when a child needs support without a teacher needing to tell them that child needs support, you know, so actually showing initiative there. And also asking questions, you know, there's absolutely nothing stopping you from asking questions when you first arrive. You know, even, oh, actually, I'll give you an example. I went to see a school last week, and the business manager who we work with, she actually said, I know if a candidate is going to be suitable within 5 minutes of them even walking into the school. And how she does that is the way that those candidates interact with also the staff members. So the way the candidates interact with the staff members, that's quite telling. So even when you walk into the school, smile, be courteous, show them that you really want to be there, and it's a role you're really interested in. And also building relationships is absolutely key. So building relationships with the staff, the teachers that you're going to be working alongside, the students that you're going to be supporting, being friendly, and showing respect to all individuals there, that really does make a strong impression. And, understanding the safeguarding policies and procedures in the school as well. And again, if they don't show that to you, then don't be afraid to actually ask the question, hey, can I just understand what your basic safeguarding policies are here? Perhaps they might be able to give you a little leaflet with that information, but ask questions. Don't shy away from asking questions, because again, when you ask questions, it shows that you're interested. It shows that you're keen to get stuck in, and that always looks good. Flexibility as well is very important. So I would definitely say, being flexible, and that is by, realizing that, it's not always going to be one size fits all with the children you're going to be working with. So realizing also that your role may change throughout the day. You may be asked to go to different parts of the class. You might be asked to go into a different classroom entirely. So it's just, it depends on the needs of the pupils and the needs of the school as well. But also, if you can show that you're adaptable, as well as flexible, those are two really good key strengths, I would say, that makes a teaching assistant stand out. Also just, I think schools expect you to be reliable, engaged, willing to support wherever needed. And again, I think to sort of summarize, I would say attitude and professionalism really matter more than anything else on day one. So think of it, or even if you're going in for a supply day, think of it as a kind of assessment day. Think that you're going to be kind of observed for a potential long-term role. So treat it like that. Treat it like it's a trial day, even if you're just going into cover for a day, because at the end of the day, we may then get a call from you may get a call from your agency saying, hey, the school spoke to us and they actually really liked you, so will you be able to return for the rest of the week? They want to consider you for a long-term position. So so that's the kind of main things I would say, Marianne.
Brilliant. And actually, you saying that there, it reminds me of what Preeti said. Preeti is one of our fabulous consultants here, and she always says you treat that first day as if you got the job already, that you've been working in that school, or it's your first day in that long-term role, because if you take that approach, that's exactly what schools are looking for. So thank you very much. Excellent. Okay, good stuff. So next question. Oh, here we go. So I'm going to take this one then. Actually, what skills make you successful in education roles? So we've touched on some of this already because we talk about the first day, but I think then perfect that this is the first bullet point, is that strong communication, having that patience and teamwork. So that obviously the teamwork will go beyond what's expected of you on your first day, but the skills in general. So strong communication, you won't necessarily have that from the very beginning. You're going to obviously have to get to know staff, get to know pupils, but as Baraj mentioned already, asking questions, talking about what you're doing, discussing what might be going on in the classroom is really, really important. And again, that translates across pupils and into the staff that you're working with, and not being afraid to ask those questions or raise any points that you might have. Patience, of course, we're working with children, but you might need patience with the staff as well. So it's ensuring that you can maintain, you know, that sort of calm and patient approach does make you really successful with working in education, because again, you're dealing, you know, you're supporting children, but you're obviously got your staff, your colleagues, you've also got parents. So that's where the strong communication and the patience comes in, but then also ultimately teamwork and making sure that you are collaborating and communicating with teachers, with SENCOs, with all members of the school team, to ensure that again, that communication, you know, is flowing. You can make sure that you are consistent in your role, and that really does come with that collaboration. Next, again, we've touched on this with flexibility, resilience, and a positive attitude. Your teaching assistants and any actually staff, you know, working in a school are very much there to obviously support children, their learning and development, and give that consistency. What that means is it might not always feel consistent for you, but that's part of the job. So that's where flexibility and adaptability come in. You know, every day is a different day. You might be in one classroom, you might be given one task, you might be supporting one student, be asked to do something else, but that's all part of it. And the bigger picture is that end result, you know, for the school and for the pupils that are in the school. The more flexible you are, the more adaptable that you are, the more you are having that impact, because you are able to slot in. You are able to, you know, potentially, you know, be a solution to, you know, an issue or a problem that might have happened on that day, simply by, you know, the team, you know, the school team then knowing that you are happy to step in, that you're happy, you know, to you know, find a workaround and give that adaptability. Alongside that then comes the resilience, because that isn't always easy. You've got the role itself, which you have to be resilient with if you are, you know, sort of changing what you might be doing, you know, the given day, or there might be a plan for the day and it doesn't quite stick. But equally having that resilience for your own personal experiences you might have in the classroom. We know it's not an easy job. It's a very rewarding job, but it does come with that resilience. And it's the ability to not take things personally when you might have had a challenging day with a pupil, a group of pupils, a whole class. It's remembering what your role is and understanding what can you do, you know, about a situation that might have happened. How can you overcome that? How can you find a solution? And that really demonstrates that resilience. And then, of course, the positive attitude. A smile goes a long way. Just as you're in the classroom, you might see the pupils come in, the students come in, and they're not smiling. You might wonder why. They're going to want to, you know, why you're not smiling as well. So, you know, even starting with a smile and, you know, coming in, you know, turning up each day, having that positive attitude, it really, really shines through. Not just, again, for the school staff or, you know, the people that might be observing you within the role that you might be doing, but especially and mainly for the pupils. So then again, we've touched on this too: reliability, professionalism, and willingness to learn. Every school is different. Definitely want to ensure that you're asking questions that will, you know, indicate your willingness to learn. Being professional, again, turning up on time, making sure that you are, you know, greeting people that you meet as you should do, making sure that you are, you know, wearing the right attire, making sure that you are following instructions, and if you're unclear, asking those questions. And again, the reliability of ensuring that you're there and you can be relied upon on that day to be supporting the pupils in the classroom. So, only thing you want to add to that, Baraj? Do you think I've covered
that's fine.
Most of that? Excellent. Okay, so next one. Okay, so Baraj, over to you with this one. How can you support me to find my next role in education?
Right, so our role, obviously, as a recruitment agency, is to support you from the very start of that journey. You know, and for example, what will happen is, if you register with us, you'll go through a candidate journey where the resources will bring you into the agency, find out about yourself, the kind of roles you're looking for. And then the idea is that what we want to do is make sure we're matching you to the roles that we have in the best way possible. So if I just bring, sorry, bear with me. Oh. Sorry, it's not letting me click into the next bullet point. Bear with me. Okay, let me just go through. So I think the main thing is we'll find out all about your career goals, your aspirations, your skills, your experience. The resources here will get to know you. your experience, the type of role that you are. Oh, sorry, it's all coming one.
Sorry, guys, we've got a bit of a technical difficulty here this afternoon. We're going to blame the weather. I'm just going to get us back to where we need to be. Just a moment.
Okay, I'll leave that with you then, whilst I go through this. So, yeah, we'll begin by getting to know you, your experience, the type of role you're looking for, the age groups that you would like to work with, the locations you can travel to as well. We then provide guidance on the journey and how that would look. So we always like to talk to our candidates and tell them how the whole process would look. So we get to know you, we get to know your experience. Then our aim is to match you to suitable roles. How we do this is then the recruitment consultants will then speak to you about the various positions we have in the local area. They'll really find out what your strengths are, where you would be best suited in terms of what opportunities we have. We also support you through the compliance and safeguarding process. So our job will be to kind of take that burden away from you, to get all your checks completed. That includes DBS checks, references, right to work documentation. So essentially you'll then be fully cleared to work in a school. You know, we always say as well that communication is key from both sides. So we like to always keep our candidates updated as much as we can about the opportunities that we currently have available. We aim to get feedback. We aim to also actually get you cleared within a 7-day period. So once you've spoken to our resources and then gone through compliance, our aim is to get you cleared quickly and efficiently within a 7-day period. That then means that hopefully we can get you into a school quite quickly and efficiently. And, you know, if you're applying for jobs directly, that process could take a longer time because what you then need to factor in is you've got all of the other checks that the schools need to do that essentially take them longer to do rather than if they were to join an agency. So, but like I said, communication is absolutely key from both ends. You know, we love candidates who communicate really well, who are always updating us about their availability for the upcoming week in terms of work. And, you know, that means that they tend to get prioritized as well because they're communicating with us a lot more. So I would definitely say when you're with an agency, try to communicate with them more often, ask them questions. Don't be afraid to ask them, when are you going to find me a job? This is when I was interviewed. I'd like to have an update. Don't be afraid to ask that. Sometimes they could be difficult questions, but at the end of the day, this is our job. This is what we're paid to do. We're paid to find people work. So, you know, we want to be challenged by our candidates, and that's how we ultimately improve our service. Once you're working in a school, we then continue to support you with regular check-ins, advice, opportunities for further roles or career progression as well. So our aim as an agency, we really try our best to not just find people jobs, but really build that long-term working relationship and support your development in education as well. And one of the ways we do that is, for example, we have a range of courses that we offer that are completely free of charge. So that's something that we also offer all of our candidates. I think we'll talk about that later in this presentation as well. So those would be the main things.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Right then. So on to our next one here. How can I secure a role in education quickly? So I'm going to touch on this one for us. So I've talked already a lot about flexibility. That's once you're obviously, you know, in a school, got to be flexible, adaptable, as we've spoken about. But for us as an agency, being flexible in a role is really key, because being flexible allows us to introduce you to schools or contexts that you may not have thought would be the ideal environment for you, but in fact it absolutely is. And as I say, we know our schools very well. It's what we do all day, every day. And we have got fantastic examples of candidates who thought that actually wouldn't be in a, you know, not sure on that school or not sure on that environment or that context based on the role or the school itself. But we've talked them through and said, give it a try. There's nothing to lose apart from giving it a try. That's all, you know, we're asking to do, and have turned around and are in those schools in a long-term role, have gone permanently in those schools and said, I'm so glad that I tried that school, or I took that opportunity and went further with it. So that will, and by default, but having that flexibility and being open to trying different settings, different contexts, different schools, means that we can introduce you to more schools more quickly. And again, as we say, we've got nothing to lose. It's definitely worth trying and seeing that experience rather than sort of limiting yourself with that. We do know that there is an element of, you know, a level of flexibility that you may have. So there might be, you know, there's commute times to factor in. There might be, you know, where your current skill set and experience, you know, you may feel lends itself well. But again, we do work very, very hard to make those matches and you know, the ideal matches for us in that respect. But then being flexible and trying different environments, different schools and different contexts, especially around potentially some restrictions you may have of commute times or, you know, what your commute looks like, again, you know, puts yourself in a better position for securing a role more quickly and ultimately finding that ideal role. So then also we have touched on compliance checks, getting those done quickly and staying responsive. So this is really important. Baraj has touched on the candidate journey here. Communication again here is absolutely key. We know there is quite a lot of work that we need to do with you to ensure that you are ready, an active candidate, ready to be introduced to schools, ready to do supply days, trial days, interviews, or go into a long-term position. But we need to ensure all that hard work at the is done at the beginning. It's done effectively with good levels of communication. When we have that with a candidate who responds quickly, is, you know, asking us questions if they're not sure on a particular check or application form or document that they're meant to provide us, or we are, you know, having conversations maybe around references, we find that communication really makes the difference, and we can absolutely, as we would call it, turn things around very quickly. So we know that we've got brilliant examples, of course, of candidates that may have registered with us at the beginning of the week, interviewed with us on the Tuesday or Wednesday, and then out and ready to go and trialing in at school by the Friday. And in fact, Baraj will probably tell me we've even got quicker turnaround times than that. Yeah. And that really does come through the communication and knowing there is a lot to do in the beginning, but if we get that right in the beginning, everything else from there is more smooth sailing, alongside, again, being flexible, happy to be introduced to different schools, etc. So I definitely say, again, going back to that with communication for compliance checks. And then we've talked about trial days. We've talked about interview supply days. So starting with short-term roles does help build your experience and opportunities. Every day that you're in a school is potentially a trial, an observation, an interview to stay in that school long-term and ultimately potentially gain a permanent position with them. So again, it is coming back to that flexibility, communication that we need to ultimately have that trust, which we are very proud of at Envision Education, is that we do have our candidates regularly feedback that they've had this fantastic experience with us. They do trust that we're looking for the right schools, for the right roles for them. But starting off with short-term roles to build up your experience and see different opportunities, particularly if you haven't got that classroom-based experience yet, is absolutely the way to really get to see those different school contexts, because it is definitely what, just as much as what you would like to do and what where your experience lends itself to those schools or to those roles, as much as it is about the schools needing a candidate like yourself. So that's why exploring different contexts and school contexts on a short-term basis is really important, and then can mean you secure your role more quickly in education. Right then. So Baraj, anything that you'd like to add to that?
No, I think you were spot on there. The thing I definitely agree on is if you're if you're willing to do the day-to-day supply, that's a great way to get your foot into the door. I can't even think of the amount of candidates that have done day-to-day. They've gone into a school just to cover a sickness or an absence, The school's given good feedback. They've been asked to return for the rest of the week. And then before you know it, they secured themselves a long-term position. And some of these candidates have then ended up going permanent in the school, you know, and that's just from the one day they've gone in to cover a sickness. So it just goes to show, if you're willing to take those calls at 7 a.m., you know, even call in to us. We've got some candidates that call in at 7 and say, hey, I'm available for work. Give me a call if you've got anything. And obviously, we're going to prioritize them because they've called in. So I would definitely say that that is a great way to secure yourself a longer term role in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you, Barraj. Okay, so this next question here, I'll take this one. What training and upskilling opportunities are available? So just to start with, we do require any candidate registering with us to complete mandatory safeguarding training. So this includes safeguarding, prevent, keeping children safe in education. These courses are absolutely essential for working in education and help ensure, of course, that you understand the responsibilities when supporting children and young people. But on top of that, we also offer free courses such as behaviour management, SEND support. We've also got autism awareness. We have got cover supervisor training course as well. We've got a really fantastic bank of training courses, which we align to, again, where you may be trialing for, where you may be looking to take your experience, where we may advise you to also have that training. So it's a fantastic thing that we can offer because they are courses that are ready to go. We've helped put, you know, those courses together, so they really are tailored to yourself as a candidate, but also the schools that you could be working in. So as well as this, we also, of course, like this one, host regular webinars, but we also have in-person workshops to build skills and confidence, which we will touch on a bit now towards the end. But our webinars, again, we've got webinars that we've done previously, which you can access via our website, which we will send a link to, so you can have a look at the type of webinars that we've done previously. So it's anything from tips for your trial day or tips for supply, supporting people with SEN. We've got you know, a really good bank, but we also do want to continue to build on this. So we will also touch on feedback at the end of this for what you feel would be useful for yourself, you know, entering into a role in education or finding your next role. But what they're there to do is really build the skills, build the confidence, really understand, you know, say what the current challenges are for any, you know, staff member working in a school and supporting children. So we always sort of, again, really keeping our fingers on the pulse here and making sure that we are tapping into, from what we learn from the schools we work with so closely and our candidates so closely, of the most effective training and workshops that you would need to ensure that you're developing as an educator and being able to upskill as well. So anything, I think I covered most of that on there, Barraj. If there's any top courses I didn't have there, but we have got a really good list that we can send out as well. So on to the next one here. And I'm going to throw this one into Barraj. What types of roles and schools can I work in?
So we work with a range of different schools: primary schools, secondary schools, special educational needs schools as well. I mean, it all depends on your experience, your skills and interests. But many people do start off as teaching assistants, you know, gather some experience within SEN, because obviously if you've got that experience in SEN, then that just gives you more clout to be able to then go on and find different roles. And, you know, you just get a totally, you get a fantastic range of skills working with SEND as well. So, and that really helps to build confidence. So you can go through the bullet points as well, Marianne. You know, we have opportunities to work as one-to-one support assistants, behavior mentors. We also offer work as cover supervisors. We also do exam invigilation as well. So when it comes to exam invigilation periods, for example, we just had a period just before this month and last month for mock exams. May will also be exams as well. Again, we have candidates who are really flexible, and they're happy to work doing exam invigilation. Again, you know, it's really good experience. So again, you know, the type of role you're offered will often depend on your strengths. You know, some people really enjoy working in early years. Some people enjoy working in secondary schools. So it really depends on the kind of your preference, but also your willingness to be flexible and adaptable as well. In terms of settings, again, like I said, you know, we work with a range of different settings. So, you know, we will, as an agency, we really listen to our candidates' preferences, strengths, and where they would prefer to work in, and then we work from there. But we always try to be honest about the process as well and how we're getting on finding them roles.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you very much, Faraj. Then, okay, so this is the last question that we're going to answer. I'll take it, is what are the career progression and long-term opportunities in education? So we do know education does offer long-term career opportunities. It's not limited to becoming a teacher, even though that is absolutely an option for you for when you're building up your experience in education. So you can progress from a teaching assistant to specialist or lead support roles. So that might be looking, if you're sticking within the support roles, you may become a higher level teaching assistant. You may obtain a level 3 or beyond qualification to support that. You may become a specialist within SEN, depending again on the SEN that you might be supporting or have the experience in. Working as a behaviour mentor or then a cover supervisor or PPA cover in a support function as well is certainly an option in terms of progression. And again, the starting point is your adaptability and flexibility with working in a school and seeing what might work. We've got brilliant examples of teaching assistants who started doing one-to-one and small group work, but then would be responsible for covering full classes. So there are different routes. You might also then be working again closely with the SENCO or looking at boosters and interventions or becoming a subject specialist still within a support function as well. So again, we've touched on this as well, specialising in SEND, behaviour or pastoral support. We do find that these opportunities are in mainstream schools, but certainly within SEND schools. And it also depends on, again, where you would like to take your career, where you found that you really enjoy working, you know, within SEND, behaviour or an area within pastoral support. That comes from really embedding yourself into a school that you would be working in, so that you can understand what the options available, you know, are potentially available for you. So there are then, of course, pathways into teacher training and longer term careers. More than ever, we see that schools are recruiting specifically to then have teaching assistants who would be interested in becoming a teacher and training through them. There's different forms that this takes. There's different sort of routes, entry routes with this, but building up your teaching assistant experience is now certainly very, very valuable for a route into teaching. It's not just now about doing the traditional PGCE, you know, after you finish university or in terms of any, you know, sort of qualification in that context. There is on-the-job learning and building up your experience working in a school in a long-term position is, if you are interested in becoming a teacher, is very, very much an option for you. It looks different again across SEND schools, primary schools and secondary schools. But if you are thinking you would like to become a teacher and you're building your experience in a support role, it's absolutely a possibility for you, and more so than ever, which is absolutely fantastic. So, okay, right. We are going to see, we can do a bit of a Q&A here, but we haven't got too long. So we've got about 4 minutes here, Faraj. And anyone, if you do have a question, at the top right of your screen on your GoToWebinar page, you should see a chat box that sort of looks like the one that we put here on our presentation. If you would like to write any questions in, then please do so now, and so we can see if we can touch on them.
Whilst Marianne, whilst they do that, Marianne, whilst they do that, you could go over to the next slide, and I can talk about the candidate event. So everyone, if you just put any questions into the chat box, and then we've got a couple of minutes to answer any questions that you may have. But whilst we're just coming to the end of this webinar, I just want to touch upon a fantastic free candidate event that we've got coming up. So this will take place on Wednesday, the 8th of April. during the Easter break, okay? And it's going to be from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock, Wednesday, the 8th of April. So this is going to be great. So if you can come in, that would be amazing. What you'd be able to do is meet, and you'll have a meet and greet with our recruitment consultants. Then we'll also be able to prepare you for any upcoming jobs and talk to you about potential opportunities we have. So a great opportunity to network with our team. We're also going to run some workshops. So we're going to run a workshop on tips for trial days. So how you can make the most of trial days and interviews. We'll also deliver some basic send training, and we'll also talk to you about the benefits of day-to-day supply, which, as I mentioned, is a great way to then secure long-term work. We've got some snacks and drinks included as well, and to top it all off, we're going to have a raffle prize, so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to come, I mean, you can even say yes on the chat box if you're interested in coming, and then my colleague Lena can send you over an invite. So if you would like to come, please say yes on the chat box. But what my colleague Lena will also do is she'll send each of you an invitation to the candidate event on the 8th of April.
Excellent. Okay, good stuff. Well, we haven't got too long to go. We haven't had it again because I think we'd asked everyone for their questions before they came in, which were great questions to ask. So thank you for everyone for coming and for those who did submit the questions. What you will receive, as well as an invite to our candidate event, you will also receive an email after this asking for your feedback on today's webinar. So ignoring a couple of the difficulties with the technical side of things, we would really love to hear your feedback on how we've answered your questions, and in particular, if you do have any further questions you might think of beyond this session, that we'd absolutely want to know. So there is room for you to do that. And again, as we said, we will be sending you the invite to the candidate event. We can see here who has said they'd like to yes, be invited into the event, which is great. So you'll be getting those. And to confirm, the recording of this webinar will be going onto our website. So if you have missed anything, if you might have joined us a bit late, or you had to sign off, which you're not here at the moment to be able to say, but you will be able to view this session online as well. So I think that is it for today. Thank you everyone for joining, and a big thank you to Balraj for joining us as well. Hope we've answered your questions, but please let us know if there's anything else you'd like us to answer. We'd really appreciate the feedback, and we look forward to seeing some of you at our event. You'll look out for the invite you'll receive it this evening. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much for joining. Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.